welcome to another episode of the Chaos Chronicles.
Navigating the randomness.
I'm Jess.
I'm Connie.
And today we're diving back into Twilight. We will be on chapter 14, Mind Over Matter.
Yes, before we get too deep into it, you can find us on all of our social medias, which is TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram. The handle for all four is at Chaos Chronicles Podcast, and that's Chronicles with an S. We would very much appreciate a like, subscribe, and follow.
Yes. All right. Well, before I dive into this, Connie's going to give us a very, very brief summary of what happened in chapter 13. And if you're wanting to read chapter 14 before, we get into it, now is your chance.
Mm-hmm. So, as a summary, chapter 13 should have been called the Edward Monologues. Yeah, we had a lot of direct quotes in that one. But essentially, Bella and Edward are in the field and they are testing the boundaries of each other, and Edward tries to intimidate her and scare her like, oh, if only you could run away. You think you could, but look how fast, strong, and spooky and suave I am. All that fun stuff. They share a painfully awkward, embarrassing kiss because Bella throws herself on Edward, and Edward's like, hang on, sweetie, I don't want to eat you at that moment. And that's kind of where we leave off of they are heading back into town and Edward's saying, friends don't let friends drive drunk. You're drunk on me, so I drive.
Yeah.
Did I miss any big parts there?
No.
Great.
And if you want all the details, you can go check out last week's episode.
There was a lot.
There was a lot.
First time Edward was like really honest, so.
Yeah. Still a dick, but like,
oh, absolutely.
Honest. Yeah. All right, so the chapter begins with Edward driving Bella home, and she admits to herself that he is a good driver, and he kept the speed reasonable this time. Edward turned the radio to an oldies station and sang along to every song. Bella asks him if he liked 50s music. Edward does. The music in the 50s was good. It was much better than the 60s or the 70s. The 80s were kind of bearable, though. Bella wants to know how old Edward really is. Edward is hesitant to tell her because he's unsure if knowing how old he is would upset her.
I'm just going to leave it. I'll withhold comments so we can get as much of the details in, but like, if you're worried about it, it means you know on some level that this is weird.
And it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's a little predator-ish vibes.
Well, I mean, he is a predator apex, but same.
He is, yeah. So finally, he tells her that he was born in Chicago in 1901. And Carlisle found him in a hospital the summer of 1918, so when Edward was 17 and dying of the Spanish flu. His parents had already passed from the disease, and Edward was alone. And that is why Carlisle chose him. And with the chaos of the epidemic, no one would ever realize that Edward was gone. Edward doesn't remember it well because human memories fade, but he remembers how it felt when Carlisle saved him. Apparently, it's not an easy process, and it's not something that you can easily forget. So, I'm assuming it's, and I have no idea how this happens, but I'm assuming it's a little slightly different than Vampire Diaries, where you drink the blood and then they kill you.
Yeah, no. This
a little
one,
different.
A lot of different. No, incredibly painful, and that actually becomes something that gets circled back to at a couple different points in the series.
I figured. All right. So, yeah, because all I was picturing for them transforming into vampires is literally Vampire Diaries.
No, if I recall, it's not blood, it's the actual like venom, like teeth.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's not what I expected. All right, well, So it's a very difficult process also, and many don't have the restraint that's necessary to accomplish it. But Carlisle was the most humane and compassionate of them. Edward said for him it was a very, very painful process. Carlisle had acted on loneliness. That is usually the reason that vampires turn others into vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And Edward was the first in the family.
Yep.
Soon after, he found Esme. She had fallen from a cliff and was brought straight to the hospital morgue, and her heart was somehow still beating. Bella wondered if you had to be dying to become, but trails off since they had never said the word. Edward tells her no, that's just Carlisle. He would never do that to someone who had another choice. But dying makes it easier, quote, if the blood is weak, end quote. So it's easier to transform if the blood is weaker. If the host is weaker, it's easier to.
I don't remember, honestly.
Oh, well, that's what he was getting at that thing, at least. Bella asks about Emmett and Rosalie. Rosalie was the next in the family. Carlisle had hoped that she would be to Edward what Esme was to him. Edward didn't learn that until much later, though, because Carlisle was careful with his thoughts around Edward. Rosalie and Edward, though, were never more than siblings. About 2 years later, she found Emmett when they were hunting in Appalachia, however you want to pronounce that, when they came across a bear almost finishing Emmett off. Rosalie carried him back to Carlisle, over 100 miles. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to do it by herself. Edward can only guess how difficult that process was, but she made it. She had seen something in his face that made her strong enough, and they had been together ever since.
You're going to love that part from her story, by the way.
Really?
When you hear it later. I do remember it being really sweet.
That one, I am kind of excited about that.
I do really like Rosalie's story.
So they sometimes live separately as a married couple, but the younger they pretend to be, the longer they can stay in one place. And they will all have to probably go to their wedding again in a few years. I love that part, though.
They do. They are very much in love with each other. They're in love with each other.
Yeah.
All the couplings are.
Oh, that is so cute, though. So next is Alice and Jasper. They are, quote, two very rare creatures. So both of them developed a conscience with no outside guidance. Jasper had belonged to a very different kind of family. He became depressed and wandered away. Alice had found him. And like Edward, Alice has gifts that are rare for their kind. Edward is the only one who can hear people's thoughts. Alice can see things that might happen, things that are coming, but it is subjective and things can change. Alice had seen Jasper and knew that he was looking for her before he knew it himself. She then saw Carlisle and their family, and they both found them. Alice is the most sensitive to non-humans and can always see when another group of their kind are coming close. There are not many of their kind, and most won't settle in one place because they don't keep the lifestyle of hunting animals like they do. Going back to Alice, no one knows where she came from. Alice doesn't remember her human life at all. In fact, she woke alone. So whoever had made her had walked away. At this, Bella's stomach growled and interrupted their conversation.
Okay, you are going to love hearing their stories. And after we wrap up the Twilight main series, we can do maybe a reaction. They have made small movies, small shorts, not using the same actors from Twilight, but doing the story of Alice. And I think they may have done one for Rosalie based on the Stephanie Meyer wrote screenplays for him.
Oh, that's cool.
It's actually, I like Alice's story.
Okay.
It's sad, though.
Mixed emotions, but look forward to that, I guess, in the future. Edward had apologized for keeping her from dinner. He doesn't spend much time around anyone who eats, so he forgets. But Bella doesn't want him to leave, so she invites him inside.
Not like the Vampire Diaries. There isn't a... I knew you were going to think it. Nope, there isn't the whole, like, you have to be invited in. Edward's just polite. Yeah. Well, those who know. You'll know soon.
I mean, he's already been in her house. He got the keys for her truck, so we already know he's been in her house. Yeah, anywho. So Edward leads her to the front door and opens it for her. Bella pauses and asks if the door was unlocked. It was not. Edward had used the key from under the eave. Eve? E-A-V-E?
I think so.
Yeah, Eve. Is that what you're making faces about? No? Okay. So Edward tells Bella that he was curious about her. Bella should be upset by this, but instead she was flattered. You got a stalker that knows how to get in your house.
Oh, just wait until he admits one of the next parts. I think it's in this chapter.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. We'll get to it.
Oh, good.
Again, I'm not sure if it's this one or the next one, but yeah. So she asks if he was spying on her, and he responds, quote, "What else is there to do at night?" End quote. Bella asks how often, and he admits that he comes almost every night because she's interesting when she sleeps, and she even talks.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. He watches her sleep a lot, all the time.
That's really fucking creepy.
Yes, it fucking is.
So Bella's expression changes, and Edward wonders if she's angry with him. Bella says it all depends on what he's heard. And Edward tells her to not be upset. She misses her mom and worries about her. The sound of the rain makes her restless, and she used to talk about home a lot, but it's less frequent now. And then tells her she did say his name. Bella sighs and asks, "A lot?" Edward responds, quote, "How much do you mean by a lot exactly?" Bella is embarrassed, but Edward whispers in her ear to not be self-conscious, because if he could dream at all, it would only be of her, and he is not ashamed. But so Charlie is pulling up in the driveway, and Edward asks if her father should know he is here. I also like that Edward is so formal. Your father. He never addresses him by Charlie, just your father.
Well, born in 1901.
I know. So Bella isn't sure, so Edward vanishes, and when Bella calls for him, she hears a ghostly chuckle, but nothing else. Yep. So Bella started eating when Charlie came in, and she started heating up some food for him while she ate. Bella asks quickly how his day was. She was really just wanting to run upstairs to her room. Charlie said it was good, the fish were biting, and wonders if she got everything on her list done. Bella said no because it was too nice outside to stay inside. Charlie agrees that it was a nice day. Bella finished her food and chugged the rest of the glass of her milk. Charlie is surprised and asks if she's in a hurry. Bella tells him she is because she's tired and wants to get to bed early. Charlie calls her out and says, quote, "You look kind of keyed up," end quote. Yep.
Also, I'm sorry, the idea of chugging milk, that turned in my stomach. I like milk, don't get me wrong.
You don't chug milk, though.
You don't chug milk.
That's how you puke.
That is, that's how you puke, or that's how your stomach starts going blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure she does not want that in front of Edward, who's going to hear that better than her. That's where I'm thinking.
I mean, she did say chug the rest of her glass of milk, so like maybe she had like this much left. We don't know. Maybe it was a shot worth left. just
a shot of milk. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, also Bella, honey, sweetie, horrible actress, horrible liar.
Oh yeah. Charlie questions her more about it's a Saturday night and she's going to bed early instead of going out. Were the boys here not her type? What about Mike? After all, Bella did say he was friendly. Bella tells him no, they're just friends, and clearly said that none of the boys have caught her eye yet. She emphasized boys.
Boys. I thought she said none of the boys in town. Because that was a point in the movie where Charlie asked her and she says, none of the boys in town. And then later, and maybe that's just the movie, later when Charlie's like, hey, I asked you, and she goes, well, Edward doesn't live in town. Which I always thought was clever because I'm like, oh, we playing with language. That is 100% who I was as a teenager. Like my parents would ask and I'd give them an answer.
No, none of the boys have caught my eye yet. I was careful not to overemphasize the word boys in my quest to be truthful with Charlie. Never mind. I thought she emphasized. I missed the not.
The not, yeah.
The not. So I was careful to overemphasize, but
so she's either emphasizing or not emphasizing because she's thinking either Edward as a man or Edward as a predator. But if you're seeing him as a man, that circles back to he saw everyone as children. Little girl.
It's weird. It's weird.
I'm getting vibes.
It's weird.
It's weird.
Very weird. All right. So Charlie concludes, quote, well, you're too good for them anyway. Wait till you get in college to start looking. Every father's dream that his daughter will be out of the house before the hormones get kicked in. That's what Bella said. So he just said, like, wait till college before you start looking, and then Bella's brain goes, that's every father's dream.
You wait till they're out. Yeah, I'm sure my dad would have appreciated it if I had held off on dating, brought home the first boyfriend in 7th grade. They could have threatened him. They should have.
Yeah. So Bella agrees with him and says goodnight to Charlie. Bella makes it to her room and whispers Edward's name, and he appears behind her. Edward had startled her, and Bella sinks to the floor.
Yeah, that's how you get an elbow or a hand to the crotch, like he's not in the fun way.
He's not worried.
Well, yeah, he can move faster, but like worry for her sake, because if she elbows you in the sternum, yeah, she's gonna shatter her elbow. The point of the story is don't sneak up on people.
Yeah, don't do it. Anywho, so Bella tells him to give her a minute to restart her heart. Edward apologizes and places her on the bed next to him and asks how her heart is. Bella says that he should be the one to tell her. I mean, you can hear it, so.
That would be so awful, by the way. As like living as a vampire, if you can hear everything, plus being able to hear heartbeats. Like I go crazy enough when I'm overstimulated and I can hear the whir of electronics. I can hear my own heartbeat. I can hear the air. I feel like I'm going crazy.
The worst for me, even growing up, those little clocks on the wall, the little slight tick, I'm like, it just gets louder and louder, even though it doesn't. My brain's like, it's getting louder and louder. And I remember taking it off the wall when I was growing up, and I put it in between the mattresses because I just could not.
Yep.
Because little me didn't realize that I could just take a battery out and it would stop.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. The ticks and the oh god, what was it? The alarm clock, the one that everyone had. That's the basic red. Yeah, my dad had one of those, and there was nights where I swear to God, I could hear the whirring through the closed bedroom door, and like my bedroom was on the other side of the upstairs, so I should not have been able to hear it. But there were nights where I'm just like, I can hear it. I can hear it. Got better once we got a turtle, and then we had the filter running all the time, so then I didn't hear that.
You need something else to drown that noise.
You know, it was a really nice little white machine that way.
Yeah.
White noise machine. Yeah, and then my parents were like, you can't hear the alarm clock. And I'm like, want to bet?
I can hear like my the electronic noise coming from my car stereo. Because if I'm not playing anything, and I don't play things a lot, sometimes I just drive and it's quiet. But if you don't turn the aux off, it just kind of does this high electronic buzz. My husband can't hear it, but I can. It's so annoying.
Same. I can hear the laptop right now. Well, that's part in the fan too.
Yeah, I can definitely hear the fan right now. Yeah.
Son of a biscuit. Now I'm going to pay attention to that. Nope.
Well, don't pay attention to my voice, Connie, as I continue.
I'm listening to you and listening to Eddie Boy's bad decisions.
So Bella asks if she can have a minute to be human. Edward says certainly, and Bella gives him a severe look and says, stay. Like a dog. Edward responds, yes, ma'am.
Good response. Good response. Also, I would be freaking petrified if I was her. Like, putting myself as a 17-year-old, can I have a minute to be human? Plug your goddamn ears. I want to go pee or something, and I don't want you hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bella grabbed her pajamas off the ground and her toiletries, closed her door, and she could hear the TV coming from downstairs. She banged the bedroom door loudly so Charlie wouldn't think about coming upstairs to bother her. Bella wanted to move quickly, but the shower couldn't be rushed. Did I say smart, the bedroom door? I
bathroom.
Oh,
if she was smart, she peed in the shower.
Yeah. And you're lying if you say that you've never peed in the shower.
We all know.
We all know. You can lie to others, but you can't lie to yourself.
Can't lie to yourself. Can't lie to two girls on the internet. No.
We won't believe you.
No.
So the hot water unknotted her back and calmed her pulse, and her shampoo made her feel like she might be the same person that she was that very morning. She was trying to not think of Edward sitting in her room waiting for her, because that made her just have to start the calming down process all over again. She eventually turned off the water and got dressed in her holy t-shirt. A t-shirt that has a lot of holes in it, and sweatpants. She wished that she had brought the Victoria's Secret silk pajamas her mother got her from 2 years back, though. But she left that in Arizona. I know. Would you buy your 15-year-old daughter silk pajamas from Victoria's Secret?
No. I mean, okay, hold up. I got to clarify. Give me a second. So, Victoria's Secret, at the time this was being written, they were not going for comfort. It was over padding, sexy lace, uncomfortable BS.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you could maybe find like those like satin matching sets where it's like the short sleeves or the shorts and then short sleeves.
That would be fine.
Fine.
That's not. I'm picturing essentially lingerie.
That's what I'm getting, like the baby doll or a teddy. Yeah. That's what I'm seeing. Which, no, not for your 15-year-old. Even still, I wouldn't buy my 15-year-old much of anything from Victoria's Secret. I'd be like, it's overpriced. It's itchy. It's uncomfortable. No. So Bella, just rock your holy t-shirt. Girl, I hope you wore a bra under that. Yeah, that's a little secret for the internet. If you don't know any women, how does that work? We don't like to sleep in bras for most of us. So
No.
I used to do that as a kid.
I did too. Well, I remember growing up, and maybe, I'm sure it's a common thing. When you start hitting that age, it's uncomfortable to wear a bra. But then once you get used to it, you're like, it's uncomfortable not wearing a bra.
Yep.
And then you get into your mid 20s and you're like, what the fuck was wrong with me? Take off. Like,
yep.
I don't even own a normal bra.
I technically have two. But
when is the last time you wore one?
Wedding stuff.
And before then? Who knows?
A really long time, because I had to go out and buy new bras because I was like, ooh, I got these. Oh, no, actually, I bought them when I was like 20, 21.
Yeah. I don't think I've bought a new bra since I was 20. And I think I got rid of it shortly after I got my house.
And we're talking like underwire bra here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sports bras is all I live in.
Sports bras, the workout tanks.
Yep.
Yeah, those are my everydays.
Yep. Nope. All right.
We veered there. But anyway, so Bella's getting out of the shower.
Yep. So she's getting dressed in her holy t-shirt, wishing she had her silk Victoria's Secret pajamas. And in my head, I'm just going to picture the cute matching sets that they have now, even though I know for a fact they didn't have them back then. So after she was done getting ready, she ran downstairs so that Charlie could indeed see that she was in her pajamas and had wet hair. She said, "Night," and Charlie looked startled by her appearance when he said night back. Bella thought this might be enough to keep him from checking on her tonight. Bella went back upstairs, and Edward hadn't moved even an inch. He took in her appearance when she returned and said, "Nice, it looks good on you." I can't get over like the age thing, and he's like a little girl, and now I'm like, ooh, predator vibes. Ooh.
Yeah. It's the whole classroom full of children comment that he made.
Yeah. See, and now it's like, okay, don't get me wrong, I do like the Vampire Diaries, but also they don't acknowledge the massive age difference.
Yeah, because that's like, what, 200 years?
Something like that. It's been a hot minute since I watched the Vampire Diaries, but
yeah, it's a lot.
There was like over 100 years between Elena and Stefan and Damon, but like
somehow I can almost rationalize that better. I don't know if that makes sense. Where it's just like it's so far apart, where it's like there's no one at that same age level, so I can kind of like maybe sort of work with it. Whereas 87 is still within a relatively like human amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's been 87. No, hang on, give me a second. He's been 17 for 87 years or something as of that point.
100-ish years.
Oh, 100-ish. So he's in total over 100.
Yeah, because he was born in 1901. And I don't know when this was supposed to take place, but
I think
then
like 2007 or 8.
In here, he's says something about in the last 100 years or so.
There we go. Gotcha.
So
yeah, I've had this weird thing in my brain where I'm like, they're 87 years apart. I think that's what I'm remembering.
Oh, gotcha. But it's like with Vampire Diaries, they don't make the comments of you're a little girl, you're a child, they don't bring that up.
That is the part that is weirding me out over all
and
this.
He keeps doing it,
and that's what's really weirding me out.
And then all of a sudden he turns and he's like, nice.
I know. that's the I'm like, this isn't reconciling. It's not sitting well. It's like finding out the cute little old grandpa that you're like, oh, grandpa's so cute. And then all of a sudden you see him treating the waitress at Denny's like, ooh, grandpa, we don't do that.
Grandpa, stop.
We don't pinch waitresses behind. We don't do that.
So, getting back to Eddie Boy here.
Yeah, circle.
Instead of talking about how creepy he is, I will try to keep those comments to a low minimum. I will try my best. So, Edward wonders what all that was for, and Bella tells him that Charlie thinks that Bella is sneaking out because she looked a little overexcited. That's fair. That's fair. Edward tells Bella that he is pleasantly surprised because in the last 100 years or so, he had never believed he would ever find someone he wanted to be with in a way that was more than brother and sister. And him finding her, it's all new, and he is surprised he's good at being with her. He's good at being with her.
This is good.
Apparently, I mean, he's basically been threatening to kill her, and all of a sudden he's like, this is great.
Okay.
Connie, it's great, okay?
Okay. Sure, Dan. Sure.
But it's not easy. He wasn't sure if he would be strong enough, and while he was there in the meadow, he wondered if he would be overcome. Not obvious or anything.
No, had no idea.
He was susceptible until he made up his mind that he was strong enough. And there is no possibility now because it's mind over matter, but if it gets to be too much for him, he is confident that he will be able to leave. Yeah, okay. It will also be harder for him tomorrow because Edward has been near Bella all day and has grown desensitized to her scent. If he leaves her for any period of time, he has to start over. Hopefully, not from scratch, though. Bella tells him to not leave then. Edward relaxes, smiles, and says that works for him. Quote, "Bring on the shackles, I'm your prisoner." End quote.
Stephanie Myers, we are toting a couple of different lines here, okay?
For all of you book lovers out there, I've read too much of Willow Winters and Katie Roberts to read stuff like this and not picture other things. Okay.
You said you get a little bit of spice.
A little spicy.
A little spicy. Instead, we're just... The spice is salt.
And you can't argue with me. There is no... I don't really care how innocent your mind is. Shackles in the bedroom. How does your mind not go there?
As an adult, yes. As a kid, I just remembered thinking, that's so uncomfortable. What if she farts in her sleep? Like, that's where my brain is going. I'm like, what weird things do I do in my sleep? Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's where my brain was very focused.
Okay. Well, that's good to know how kids see that.
Actually, as an adult, I'd be the same way. I'm like, don't watch me sleep. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm snoring. I'm drooling. Who knows? Don't watch me sleep.
No. I'll be like, go away. Come back when I'm awake. That's creepy. Bella notices that Edward is more optimistic than usual, and he hasn't ever been like this. Edward smiles. That's how it's supposed to be. Quote, "The glory of first love and all that. It's incredible, isn't it? The difference between reading about something and seeing it in the picture and seeing it in the pictures and experiencing it." End quote.
Oh, honey, you just more or less had your first date and you dropped the L word.
Uh-huh. Haven't they? They've already said that they love each other.
I don't think so. I think they've just said, like, I really like you. I can't be without you. I don't think we've had the love word.
I may be wrong because I read chapter 14, 15, and 16 yesterday, so they might all be blurring together.
I think they're blurring because we definitely I don't think it was in there.
I read a couple too many chapters yesterday.
Well, once they get going, they get going.
Yeah, well, these ones pick up a little bit more. So Bella agrees, and Edward starts to give an example. He had read about the emotion of jealousy, and he thought he understood it clearly, but it shocked him when Mike asked her to the dance. He was more aggravated than he normally was that he couldn't know what she was thinking and why she had refused him. He wanted to know if it was for Jessica. Was there someone else she had wanted? He tried to not care, but he felt relieved seeing the annoyance on Bella's face. But still, he couldn't be sure. That was the first night that he came to watch her sleep. It's just so creepy, whatever way you see that as. He was wrestling with what he should do and what he wanted to do. Edward knew if he continued to ignore her, Bella would end up with Mike or someone like him, and that thought made him angry. But that night, as she was asleep, she said his name, so clearly, in fact, at first he thought that she woke up and saw him. At that moment, he knew he couldn't ignore her anymore. Bella chimes in about how Rosalie was made for him. The beautiful Rosalie, and Emmett or no Emmett, how could she compete with her? Edward assured her that even if Emmett wasn't around, there wouldn't be anything between them. Because, quote, for almost 90 years, I've walked among my kind and yours, all the time thinking I was complete in myself, not realizing what I was seeking, and not finding anything because you weren't alive yet, end quote.
I'm laughing a little because the scene from Midnight Sun, and I think it might have been referenced again later, where Edward thinks to himself, where he's like, yeah, Rosalie is like one of the most gorgeous women he has ever met. And he's like, I am making a point not to tell that to Bella.
She is beautiful and everyone knows it. So
yeah. But like, even still, it's just like, you can find certain supermodels attractive, celebrities attractive. Like, yes, of course they're beautiful, but you still are going to love your partner more, even if they don't look exactly the same. Like, beauty and love are separate things.
Yeah. Suddenly, Edward tells her to lay down, and Edward moved into the darkness. Bella went under her quilt and laid the way she normally does. Bella hears the door open, and Charlie looked in to ensure that she was where she was supposed to be. Once he's gone, Edward whispers in her ear that she is a terrible actress, and then asks if he should sing her to sleep.
Sing her to sleep?
Sing her to sleep.
Oh, sorry, I heard sink her to sleep. I'm like, motherfucker, what are you doing?
Back up, Connie.
I'm like, hold on, where did we go?
This is a PG book over here.
Well, that's why I was like, did I miss something? Did I black out? Did Jill, my mother, rip pages out of the book?
Bella says she can't sleep with him here. Edward says she does all the time. But if she doesn't want to sleep, what does she want to do? Uh-huh.
All right, well, just keep going, but we're all thinking the same thing.
She's not sure, but he tells her to let him know when she decides. Bella suddenly feels his breath on her neck.
Again with the breath.
And his nose sliding along her jaw, inhaling.
He's taking a hit off you.
Uh-huh. Edward says he's resisting, but is appreciating the bouquet. Bella decides she wants to hear more about him specifically, why he works so hard to resist. Most of Edward's kind wonder that too, and essentially it boils down to trying to retain whatever humanity they can. Bella next asks why can he only read minds and Alice see the future? He isn't sure, but tells Carlisle's theory. His theory is that they all bring their strongest human traits into the next life where it is intensified. So for Edward, Carlisle believes that he was sensitive to the thought of those around him. And for Alice, she had some precognition. Carlisle brought compassion. Esme brought her ability to love passionately. Emmett brought his strength. And Rosalie, her tenacity or pig-headedness.
I was going to say, hold on, there's a backhand with it.
There is.
They're definitely the most like siblings in that way.
Yeah, I'm starting to get that vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Jasper is interesting. He was charismatic in his first life, and now he can manipulate the emotions of those around him. Bella then asks about their existence. Edward points out that they could have evolved like other species or just happened. Edward has a hard time believing that this, though, the just happening, because how could the force that created so many things like the angelfish, sharks, baby seals, and killer whales could create both their kinds together? Yeah. Edward asks if she is tired or wants to ask more questions. Bella has about a million or two to ask. Edward assures her that he won't vanish and they will have tomorrow and the next day and the next. Bella decides on one more question for the night, but then changes her mind. Edward voices his frustrations, again with not being able to read her mind, and he pleads with her to ask him. Finally, Bella says, quote, "You said that Rosalie and Emmett will get married soon. Is that marriage, is it the same for as it is for humans?" Edward laughs, finally understanding, and says, quote, "Is that what you're getting at? Yes, I suppose it's much the same. I told you most of those human desires are there, just hidden behind more powerful desires." Bella just responds, "Oh," and Edward asks if there was a purpose behind her curiosity. Obviously. So, quote, "I did wonder about you and me someday," end quote.
Girl, you are slamming your foot on the gas pedal.
Like, you're 17. You are 17.
Let's chill a little bit, shall we?
Granted, I mean, okay, her parents had her when her mom was 19, though. So
did they run away together at 19 or have her?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they ran away
they were
together
young.
Yeah. So maybe that's, I don't know. And also, didn't you say that the author is Mormon too?
Yeah.
They get married very young, typically.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty darn sure Stephanie Myers is Mormon. Let me double check because I'm like a solid 87%.
I know you've said it a couple times now, and I'm like, oh, I'll just take your word for it. If not, apology.
Yes. Yeah. No, she's Mormon.
Okay.
Net worth $120 million. Good for you, honey.
Nice. All right. So Edward was instantly serious. His body froze, and instinctively, Bella did the same. Edward responds he doesn't think that that is possible for them. There is an issue of them being that close, but also she is so soft and fragile. He has to think about every action so he doesn't hurt her. He could kill her easily and just by accident. If even for a moment he wasn't paying enough attention, even just reaching out for her face, he could crush her skull. He can't afford to lose any control with her. After a pause, he asks if she is scared. Bella said no, she's fine. He seems to contemplate for a moment, though, and then says, quote, "I'm curious now, though. Have you ever..." He trailed off suggestively. Uh-huh.
Well, Edward's a male.
Uh-huh. Bella blushes and said, of course not. She has never even come close to feeling this way about anyone. Edward says he knows, but he knows other people's thoughts and lust and love don't always, quote, keep the same company, end quote. Mm-hmm. Bella assures him that they do for her. Edward says, that's nice. They have one thing in common at least.
Okay. That's great. Also, don't like that that's a little shamey of lust. Like, yes, don't let lust lead you, but lust isn't also a bad thing.
No, it's not. And it's a big, I mean, that's a big thing in religion, though.
Yeah.
And
lust is a sin.
Yes and no, depending on how you want to look at it. For your,
Yes.
if you're married and it's your partner, then it's a good thing, but
And
bad for
depends
anything else.
on certain sects. Because sects, sect. Certain sects view sex, sex, as something that should only be done for procreation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets complicated, and we do not have the background or the expertise to start diving into that.
Nope.
But just like a little side note here, like it's okay to feel lust.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it drive what you do.
No.
But like you're not a shameful person.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're lusting after children. Then we need some help. And by we I mean you.
Mm-hmm.
Or animals.
We are good.
We're good. We haven't said furries in a while, but there are some people that are straight up attracted to animals. And every time I come across something on the internet about that, it's usually a Reddit post, I'm like, okay, please be fake. Please be fake. Oh, you're not fake. Okay.
It's concerning. I mean, technically, Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Just gonna leave that there.
Yeah, well, that's a hard one to grapple with.
Well, she didn't know that kissing him would reverse the curse now, did she?
Well, she didn't have to kiss him, though. She didn't kiss him until he was human.
Fuck, you're right.
I was like, hold on.
But she fell in love with him, not knowing that he could be transformed back.
True. But actually, that can be your argument there for lust and love do not often keep the same company.
Yeah, okay.
Because, you can love somebody and not be sexually attracted to them. It actually happens in quite a bit of relationships, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyways,
Yeah.
getting back into... So, Bella shyly asks him about his human instincts and if he finds her attractive in that way. Edward laughs and says he may not be human, but he is a man. He insists that she should sleep and he can leave if she prefers. Bella says no. He laughs and starts to hum an unfamiliar lullaby. Quote, the voice of an archangel soft in my ear. More tired than I realized, exhausted from the long day of mental and emotional stress like I'd never felt before, I drifted to sleep in his cold arms. End quote. And end of chapter 14.
Okay, so like real quick, this has been bugging me with her like telling him like stay and all this stuff. Not her telling him stay, but just the fact that like it's feeling a little selfish on Bella's part to be like, oh, I know you can't sleep, but stay here.
I mean, that is how he's spent most of his nights, though, already, Connie.
Good point. Still creepy.
Very creepy.
Yeah, I don't like to fall asleep around people if they're not going to be sleeping. One too many of childhood sleepovers. So like last one's asleep, first one up.
Yeah. No. I didn't go to many sleepovers, but nothing happened if you were the first to fall asleep. But again, I didn't go to many sleepovers.
Different sleepovers. When I would sleep over at one friend's house, her younger brother, who's like a year younger than me because she was the school year above me, he would sometimes have sleepovers with the neighborhood boys. And so there was one big slumber party. I think it was actually for her birthday, where I heard about this later, but like literally I somehow fell asleep first, which like never happens. And then the guys came in at like 1 a.m. because we were sleeping in the basement. And apparently one of them tried to like fake go and kiss me because we're like 10, 11 at that point. And in my sleep, I don't have memory of this, but the other girls told me that apparently I had been laying on my back. And as he got closer, I just went whap and smacked him and turned over on my side.
Nice.
Yep. And I guess he was kind of salty about that. And I'm like,
his own fault.
What the fuck are you trying to do? He was young, so like it wasn't like bad. It was just boys, girls, cooties.
Yeah.
But then I was also like to my friends, I'm like, if
why
you're
didn't
awake,
stop them?
Yeah.
No, I never had anything like that ever happen at a sleepover, and we all had to be in bed in the room at a certain time, and they came to check on us. And
different parents.
very.
Yeah, these were the neighborhood parents that were very like, they were friends of their kids, not necessarily the parents.
Yeah, no, all of like my mom had to be friends, not just know them, had to be friends with my friend's mom for me to
Yeah.
go over there. And I remember because they wouldn't open the door or anything. They would like lean in to like listen in to see if we were talking or whatever, and then if we were, they would come in. But do you remember the DSs and
Yes.
how they had the what was it called?
The chat or whatever.
Picto chat, is that what
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was?
Picto chat. Yeah.
Yeah, so we all turned the volume down and we would be doing that, but we didn't even do that late because
You get tired when you're
you
that
get
young.
tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had very uneventful sleepovers.
Different sleepovers, girl.
Yeah.
That's where I found out that I had a little bit of a sensitivity to caffeine, because that same friend, when she and I did a sleepover later, you remember when Starbucks really got into releasing their coffee ice creams and then like the coffee syrups that
I
went with
forgot
it?
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So one night, and I'm also probably like 10 or 11. I did a lot of sleepovers around that age. So she scoops the ice cream, doesn't tell me that it's coffee, and then she puts a ton of chocolate syrup and coffee syrup on it, and she hands it to me and she goes, "Here you go, Connie."
That's a ton of caffeine right there.
I did not fall asleep at that sleepover. It
Not
was not
surprised.
good. And because we had the basement, because they had a guest bedroom in the basement, that's where we were sleeping. Like literally, I was just like, just running in circles. Like I was absolutely off the wall. And my friend's trying to fall asleep. She's like, "Can't you just go to bed?" I'm like, "What did you give me?" And she goes, "It's just coffee." I'm like, "I don't drink coffee." But she had also been drinking coffee since she was like 7.
Yeah. People with tolerances, people with not.
Not that was a bad one. That was my mom was really angry after that, because then I got really grouchy and like curmudgeony the next day, because you're crashing hard from that sugar and caffeine and no sleep. I didn't get to have sleepovers for a while after that.
A little understandable.
Yes. And if any of you are questioning, well, why didn't you stop eating the ice cream? It probably didn't taste good. You're right. It didn't. But I didn't want to, be rude and refuse something that someone had given me.
Yeah. Also, waste not households is where we came from.
Very much.
Yeah.
She gave me a full red Solo cup of the ice cream and the chocolate.
That's a lot.
It was entertaining to her. I honestly think that's the closest to what I imagine doing cocaine feels like.
Couldn't even imagine. I can't even drink coffee right now. So, right now, I can't drink coffee ever again, basically. I can do decaf. But even then, it has to be only in the mornings because then I won't be able to sleep. And by the way, I do have a legitimate intolerance where I do like have palpitations. I go through PVCs, PACs, and it's not a good time. Like there's actual bad health stuff that it does to my heart. So
Yeah. No. And I just save my caffeine for if I really need it. Like when you need to take Excedrin for migraines because that has caffeine.
yeah,
Like I try to save it for then.
I save it for after nights when I don't sleep, like last night, and then I drank a black tea because yeah, that is plenty of caffeine for me. And even still, I was like, kind of, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I could have used that this morning.
Well, that's why I got here and Connie was still showering. By the time she came downstairs, I had everything set up.
You were fast. I was like, damn, girl.
Because I literally got here and I was like, well, she's in the shower. I'll go get everything. I just ran downstairs, grabbed everything, and just plopped it all together.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't sleep and I slept like a log. I was out, no dreaming, just
Conked.
conked. The one where you wake up sore because it's like your entire body just disengages from your joints.
Yeah.
And then you try to re-engage and you're like, oh God, ow.
Which is not something that would happen if someone was just sitting up and staring at you all night.
Yeah.
Circle back to Eddie Boy.
Circle back to Eddie Boy. Yeah, we cannot be the only ones that find that kind of creepy, right?
Please.
Right?
Honestly, if you don't find it creepy, I'm kind of worried about you.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
No, I'm answering for you.
Yeah, well, let us know what you think of Edward in this chapter. Slightly better than last chapter. He didn't throw anything.
He's honest. I do appreciate that he stayed and said, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. And then he like turned to stone. In the book, it said like he instantly turned to stone or something like that. It's like, all right, dude.
Not the version of rock hard in the bed that you thought, but
you went there.
You know what? We recorded our Rasputin episode, which probably isn't going to air because it's a cursed episode, and there were so many jokes about the male organ because of Rasputin's history. I'm on a roll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one may be released the Wednesday before this comes out, but that one might be an audio only file because we tried to re-record it today and it just we didn't get the authentic Connie reaction.
True. Granted, we've recorded the episode now a total of 4 times, so
yeah, it was just so short today, and I'm like, you know what? The last one we recorded was so much better, so we're gonna go with that. There just won't be video, so I do apologize for that, but it's still a great listen.
It's
still good. But
anything else we should add?
I don't think so. Next week we are going to be doing chapter 15 and also probably 16, just because they
combining.
Combining those two for one episode because they just go hand in hand together, and it only really makes sense. They're both shorter chapters, so it makes sense to put them together. And those 2 chapters get more interesting. We get more information about the Cullens and specifically Carlisle, which I found fascinating. So make sure you are following us on all of our social media so you know when it goes live. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Chaos Chronicles Podcast, and that's Chronicles with an S. We post videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Saturdays are our Twilight days. Wednesdays are our
weird, random, chaotic, if you will.
Yeah. So make sure that you're following us and you're subscribed. And other than that, see you next week.
Yeah. Adios.
Bye.